welcome to Cookie's channel. So, I am Cookie, and this is kind of the first time I'm much on video. Yeah, I've been doing Bride Saber from Fate's Day Night, and I am doing Princess Eilish's design. I probably said that wrong, so I'm gonna tag her down below to make sure that you guys see her work, because I really love her design. But like, look at this sleeve! I'm gonna be kind of showing you, not like a tutorial, but how I made something. It's not always gonna be the right choice, and sometimes I did get a bit lazy and distracted, and my seams are not the cleanest. But we moved on, and we made her. So now I'm really happy, and I cannot wait to wear this. By the time you're watching this, I'm probably gonna insert me wearing it. Enjoy me actually working on stuff onto cosplays, because I really enjoy making these things. So yeah, take your time, watch it, and enjoy. Bloop, 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 bloop. I like to start off by just looking at any references that I can find and sketching so I know what general shape to go with. I'm gonna be starting on the blue top, I guess. You really want to wrap yourself in saran wrap. I think that's what it's called. Just so it protects your skin, your body, because we're going to be making a duct tape model. It's the best way to get your perfect measurements for these very weird designs. I'm only going to be focusing on duct taping one half of myself, so I don't need a waste on the other side. So much tape. And you can ask your family member or anybody who's home to help you with tricky parts. Once I get that shape all done, I like to just use Sharpies, 2 different colors, blacks and red, so I can find everything. One down the center and one down the side, then you're good to put down all of your kind of little details. Cut yourself out, please do be careful. I have had very sharp cuts on my neck before. Once I get everything done, I like to just kind of label it, clean up the edges, and cut off the excess so I'm not confused when I'm transferring it later onto fabric. Here is my nice fabric. I do have it double-sided, so you are making 2 sets of this. Snip, snip, snip. Everything is all cut out. I start sewing it very quickly. I'm not too worried about my edges because this fabric does not fray, but if you wanted to, you could do a rolled hem. And I'm just doing a straight stitch. Onto the sleeves. I'm just adding some interfacing just to add some stability. This gold was so nice. I am so happy with the finished look. It can be tricky because it is a fox leather. I think that's how you say it. Faux fox. But top stitching, it just makes it so nice. Look at that. And yes, my stitches could have been cleaner. I'm onto the little flappy part of my little arm cape. Draw everything out on chalk so you don't mess up and have a reference nearby. Some more top stitching. And we pin again. Trust me, this is worth it. Right now I'm just sandwiching 2 good sides, and I'll flip it inside out and hide all my seams with this little bias tape trim of gold again. It makes everything look so good. Here I'm just attaching it to the rest of the body, and this is the finish. Look! Look how so nice that looks. Next I'm on to the gloves. The gloves, they're always not my favorite to make, but trust me, you need to learn at one point. I do a small zigzag stitch because you're going to be pulling these on and off. You want to make sure that it's going to last you. Cut it all out. And ta-da! They're decent. I added some gold later on. I'm onto the little forearm detail. It is very odd, but I have no idea how this worked. It just kind of did. And voila, the arms are done. Now we're on to the bodysuit. Use some more clear saran wrap. You will feel very hot and like a potato. I used normal duct tape just to get the general shape. And again, you only need one half of yourself. Make sure to draw a line down the front, the sides, and the back so you know where everything should be. Once you get that, clean up your bodysuit and then start cutting them into little sections. Although, do add registration marks. That will help save you the hassle of figuring out what goes where and also label it. With all of these, make sure you're adding extra seam allowance. I'm not worrying too much because I do tweak it in the end. But adding the proper seam allowance makes it so you won't have something super tight. Pin all the sides together. It's going to be similar to a corset kind of style. So good luck. Do it to the front and now to the back. Make sure you only go halfway because we're going to put a zipper in it. Here, I got a little confused what goes where. You can see I'm like trying to figure it out. Eventually, I did get it. It just took me a little bit. Now we sew it all together. I did zigzag stitch some edges to make sure it didn't fray. Add your lace trim just around. I wasn't too particular about how clean it looked because it went underneath. More gold. I swear I can't get enough of this material. This was probably some of the trickiest pinning I have ever done because this fabric, like the leather, will not turn very well. So getting circular shapes, very hard. I pinned the bodysuit to the top, add a zipper in, and so close to being done. Just kidding, I still got a lot more work to do. I did switch threads here so that way it didn't show up. Now we're on to the crown. So here I had the 3D model because I was so lucky that someone modeled it for me. I did not have to. 3D printed it out on my own machine, primed it, sanded it, and spray painted it. It was a lot of work. Next we're gonna make our own little gems because there's no way to buy the same size you need. So right now I'm just making a little channel that all my thingy-majig can't get everywhere. I don't know what it's called. It's like silicone. It's silicone. That's what it is. Mold silicone. Ah! Mixy, mixy. Forbidden soup. Pour that sucker in. And I did make sure to hot glue, and I used Vaseline just to kind of help it. If you have mold release, that's going to be way better than Vaseline. And after that, it's time to peel it out. This was my first time using it, and I have to say, it was fun, it was interesting, and I want to do more. Detail shots. And it just pops right out. After that, I just used resin. Add some drops, add some more, and some more. And then you're finally good to let it kind of use a heat to pop all the bubbles, get it through, let it sit for a little bit. I have a slow timed resin. Pour that guy in. Try your best to make sure there's no bubbles in it, and if there is, just give it a little bit. Use a heat gun or a
long kind of torch thing to just pop the surface bubbles. I do give it a tap sometimes to just try to allow some to rise to the surface faster. Again, let it sit for 24 hours and here you go. They came out so good. I did use a clear coat later on. There's so much more I still need to learn with resin, so these are not perfect by any means. And I had more 3D prints to prime and spray paint. Can never get enough of that. And see, they just pop right in. Perfect size, and it's all custom. That one I did struggle with. I got it in eventually. The rest just slid right in. And look how cute my nails are. They were for Valentine's Day. Next, I'm just adding some cool accent stuff and hanging it from the gems. So worth it for all this detail. Next, I'm working on the bows. Bows are not my favorite thing to make, just because of how many I've had to make with every project. So I make long rectangles, and then you kind of fold them upon yourself. So I did need 4 there, so that's why there's thicker fabric. Kind of to explain, bows is a long rectangle that's bigger and then a very skinny rectangle for the little flappy flaps that hang down. You gotta make sure you pin everything. Velvet is so difficult to work with because it slip and slides. Make sure to leave a gap when you first start. That way you can flip it inside out. Pin everything again and back to sewing. Here I'm just cutting off the corners so that way it folds and is a crisper edge. Fold it inside out. I like to put foam inside of mine just to give it stability. You can use interfacing as well. So down the middle, add the longer rectangle, and I do like a couple passes to make sure that it's not going to come undone. I don't know why it would, but you never know. I add my little middle strap thing on and just did a few whip stitches to make it look clean. Is this the proper way to do it? I have no idea. Again, don't look at me for sewing advice. I just make the costumes. I did end up sewing a little clasp at the end so I can put it through my garment without getting like any damage. You can use snaps if you really want to, but this one specifically goes over top my zipper, right on the neck. And there you go, you got your own bow. You look so good. Onto the shoes. I painted. I do have another video that explains more of that process. And with this part, I wish I put them a little lower down because it did stab me the whole con. The little tips. And the shoes are done. It's so pretty. I'm so happy I went the extra mile to paint my own shoes, which they're just Value Village shoes. Next, I'm just attaching this on. Looks all good and clean. And the earrings. I love it. Next, we're working on the thigh highs. The thigh highs are honestly a pain in the butt. So duct tape model everything because this design is unique. Ooh, look at that. Draw on the sides so you know where to cut. I just added the detail on. Get behind you because there's a seam there. Cut everything out. Make sure it's clean. And I did add interfacing to the front part of the half. I did these in 2 different sections. That way I could get that detail without having to do it on the whole sock. Some more detail trim. Carefully cut out the parts you don't need. I wish I did use some no fray kind of glue just to make sure it didn't fray. Just do the bottom half. I did make them socks, but I ended up having to cut at the ankles just because I didn't make it long enough. And there you go. So nice. Next we're working on the veil. I just cut out a bunch of shapes, what I kind of thought worked, and cut off the excess, get the shape. I just did a zigzag stitch around the whole thing. I went to my Cricut machine, I made my shape in Tool Paint Side just because that's what I use for my art. Went into Cricut, duplicated a bunch, and we cut them out. I'm using a iron-on fabric, so I don't have to worry too much about that. We just love the gold accents. They are so pretty. We just peel perfection. Now, onto the wig. I just went with the ponytail wig from Amazon. I think it's a Love Live character. Cut the bangs, steam the bangs. Hairspray. And I crimp for extra volume, but I do find it keeps the hold way better. And just do the same to the other side once you're done this one. Shaping, more steaming. I used a buzz cutter just to get the excess off. You use hot glue to make it a little nub so all of that does not fall out. I originally made the little shape out of scrapped Warbler, and I just used a styrofoam ball to get the shape. Put some batting on it and hot glue everything together. I'm just going to use a heat gun just to get rid of some flyaways, paint the color, and you shouldn't see it underneath. I'm right now working on the ponytail part of the wig, just to give me some extra wefts for the bun, but also this is the braid that goes around the bun. Now this was my first time doing this kind of work, so it was a learning experience for me, but I grabbed some wefts, I doubled them up so that way it became thicker, so I didn't have to do as many passes or gluing, that I can just work in thicker chunks. I'm just using some I don't know how to pronounce this glue. Something. I use a steamer just to get a crisper edge. And since this glue works slower, I didn't have to worry about time as much. If anything, I did have to work slower to let it actually dry in place. And I just cut off the excess, and you repeat this a few times. I do wish I had more wefts to keep going. Again, just a learning process. I do have my heat gun at the lowest setting. It does not hurt me. And I just hot glue it onto the rest of the hair. Nothing fancy, just hot glue. And that is the finished look. This took me so long, but in the end, it is so worth it. The amount I learned from this project is so worth it. I know how to do things better now. Thanks for staying, and I hope you enjoyed this video. And I hope to see you again.